I need you to do one thing for me. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and every little counts, and I do really appreciate you. How did you manage a remote team? And secondly, how did you hire people? Good hands.
Right. The remote team part was just investing in. We failed so many times, man. Like we really did learn on the job. We failed at hiring. We failed um, at organizing the team
Mm,
for a remote for remote efficiently for remote. So
mm,
like many times, well, not many times, but like there were people that we hired and we realized after hiring them, we often would miscalculate the amount of commitment and the culture fit. And those two things are so important. Like
absolutely.
we would hire people and we would think that they are committed to a degree that they aren't.
Mm,
We would hire people and we would think that they fit into our culture, but
yeah,
they actually don't. And culture is so
culture
important.
is key.
Is key. It's very key, right? So that hiring part, shout out Emmanuel Kate, who's head of growth at Paystack. He was like on a hour-long call with me one random like Saturday,
Wow.
just telling me like how they hired Paystack
Wow.
and what they do and all the things we need to like do and to be sure we need to have
We need
rounds
that
of
one out. You
interviews.
are
We
going
need
to
to be
pass it
sure,
on to me.
you
That one
know.
out talk. I need it, bro. For real. I've reached out to you for on
um,
this before.
yeah. So like, and then I learned so much from that conversation.
Mm,
And then regarding like the remotes, it's just we really invested in like gear, in communication, in over communication, proactive communication. There was a very, very big tension between that's this is me being vulnerable, yeah, between me setting expectations for what my team members would show
yeah.
and how often they could show.
Mm.
So I am very, like I said, I've said like 5 billion times on this
It's
podcast.
fine. It's fine.
I'm very
This
I'm
is a
very
safe
skilled.
space. Don't worry.
So every single iteration or my first few drafts of an idea are usually like polished, and
Mm,
it's not deliberate. It's just I'm just seasoned
mm,
that way, right?
mm,
So when I put up my work, sometimes it intimidates
mm,
my team members because of the skill gap, and it was very hard to get them to be vulnerable enough to put work in progress
mm,
out. And if you're going to move fast, you need to fail fast.
mm.
So like you want people to post the work ideas quickly so we can get to the good ones,
Once.
right? And it was very, very difficult to balance the culture of great work with vulnerability of
Mm,
work process
mm.
of like
It's
of
so deep.
very poor like first version
Yeah.
iterations of ideas, right?
Yeah.
When you are saying, oh, at this studio we do the best work, people are nervous. They're like, everything I have to
It has to
show
be
must be great.
perfect.
And that's not great. That's not
Mm,
good for culture.
mm.
It's the opposite. The
Wow.
opposite is you expect everyone to put their stupid ideas out as quickly as possible. And then you now collectively refine. You
Wow.
collectively refine until it becomes great.
Hmm.
And that was something I learned at Pentagram. Like you see all these designers, they have degrees. Some of them are lecturing at School of Visual Arts in New York. All of these people are very, very well to do. They have 10, 15, 20 awards. They are in their 30s. They are young, but they're like established. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you see the sketches for Green Africa that Eddie showed me, if you
Yeah.
see the sketches, you will not believe that came out of Pentagram.
Damn.
And that's just the nature of design. Of
Mm.
course, the result is pentagram worthy,
Yeah.
but the nature of design is you are going to do
Mm.
rubbish because you need to be vulnerable
Yeah.
in the beginning,
Mm.
you know. And that was, I feel like if we conquered that earlier, I feel like even if you think our work is good, it could have been even better
Mm.
because like it would have been a lot richer in terms of like outputs.
Wow.
So I know that I feel like moving forward, if I'm ever going to create a studio, oh yeah, another very important thing is we branded people, but we weren't very clear about our own internal branding. Ironically, so like
To be honest,
You
I think
say,
I've seen. I
okay,
think I've seen
you,
you post about something like that before. That we haven't
yeah,
developed the identity for that or something like that. I think
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen something
yeah.
like that before. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's very important,
Hmm.
and a lot of studios and people running creative businesses, they miss that part because
About
they feel like they
themselves.
have it locked
Hmm.
in their
In their
minds. Like,
minds.
oh
In their mind.
yeah,
It's like I know who I am, but don't worry about
no, 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 no,
visualizing
no.
it or putting it down. And then we
No,
go
you have
do
to
the work
document. You
for
have to document
clients.
it, bro.
Wow.
No, you have to document it. You have to
That's a
document it.
tough
You have to
work.
build.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
you have to You need to brand yourself
Hmm.
essentially, and it's not just branding yourself like the look
Hmm.
and the the internal culture.
Hmm.
It's actually like everything you do for your clients, you need to do for yourself. You need to document
Hmm.
your values. You need to send people to Dropbox paper docs, Notion documents that say, if you are working at this studio, these are 6 things that we do not compromise on,
Hmm.
right? You need to brand yourself.
Hmm.
And that was something that we realized a little further, not a little, much, much further into running the studio.
Hmm.
Partly because I had run the studio and I was doing most of the work
Yeah.
myself, right? And I was inexperienced in that regard,
Hmm.
but also because it's just something we realized like towards the end that like all the time I have to explain why it's important that you talk and you give the team updates. I have to explain why it's important that you let us know that you are going to miss a deadline and you just communicate.
That's
You know,
that's a very
so
relatable
it's many
issue
things.
with businesses and especially remote teams. That's
Yeah.
a very very common. I mean, as a business owner, I know this, and as an agency owner as well, I can relate. I can totally relate with everything you're saying in this regard. Working with Pentagram for me, like for you, you've made reference to that now. How was it? What was it like compared to? Because I think that was like wasn't that like your first international like collaboration?
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool, man. We just got a random email from Eddie's team, and we're like, "What the hell? What this is? What the hell is this?
Hmm.
Like, who's scamming us? Who's trying to play a prank on us?
Hmm.
Who has heard us say we want to work with these people and is just trying to like raise our hopes?"
Wow.
And then I actually googled it and realized that those were yes official emails.
Wow.
And then they said that there is this like they couldn't tell us the project
Hmm.
just yet, but that they liked coffee club and they wanted to arrange a meeting. And I remember
What did you
like
do that day? That
scratching
in
my
that
entire
moment?
house. Bro, I don't think I could sleep that day. I just kept Me and Dami just kept like telling ourselves that this guy has actually reached out, and we're looking at ourselves and looking at like that's insane.
Damn.
And like I think we scheduled a meeting. Internet was of course very shitty. I think the
Jeez.
meeting fell
Nigeria
off
must
like
not show
maybe two
itself.
times. And then we eventually spoke, and it was kind of like an interview essentially because they were
Wow.
asking us questions, trying to figure out like how we think, trying to figure out the status of our clients and the status of the projects. If I remember correctly, Eddie was like, coffee club right now, how has the branding manifested? That is, if I visit the club right now, how
Yeah.
much of the branding is actively existing? So like we had a lot of conversation. um and then they basically said, oh, they would fly Dami and I out to their New York office and we'll be with them for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So they tell us everything they've learned and they basically prepare us to handle the work.
Okay.
The thing with Green Africa was that Green Africa placed the biggest order for new Boeings in the history of African like air travel. I think they placed an order. This was before Boeing had the issue.
Hmm.
They placed an order for brand new for 100 new Boeing 737s.
What?
That was running into like hundreds of millions of dollars. So they really wanted to come and change the game for like Nigerian for local air travel.
Wow.
So you don't expect people like that to rush and do their brand identity in 6 months.
100
Like,
Boeings.
yeah,
Wow.
brand new. So like these
Wow.
people were not, and this, the CEO is someone that like had, done a lot. He's very successful, was very successful on Wall Street. I think he's a trader, I'm not sure. And he's very passionate about Nigeria, very passionate about Africa. We learned so much on that project, man. Anyway, it's time to fly us out. I get a visa, Dami doesn't,
Oh shoot.
because they say that Dami and Eddie Okpara are in a relationship, and Eddie Okpara is a sugar daddy. That's what they told her at the visa office.
Jeez.
Just very misogynistic, very misogynistic. I remember feeling happy. I've never had a clearer instance of mixed feelings in my entire life, where the
Jeez.
biggest thing that had ever happened to me
Oh
happened,
man.
and at the same time the person who had been with me from the beginning
Yeah.
could not come with me.
Oh man.
It was horrible. It was a horrible feeling. And I ended up traveling. They put me in a hotel that was like maybe 2 blocks away from their office. I remember entering the office and the security guy looking at me like I shouldn't be there because there are
Why?
not that many black people
Oh
in that kind of space.
wow.
Um, um,
Wow.
there's so much to learn. I remember like entering this
What was the feeling
space,
like
meeting the
entering?
design. It was crazy. I was very overwhelmed
Mm.
and overstimulated. Like I would be sitting on like a workstation and Paula Shea would just pass me and just
Jeez.
walk. Or I would be like walking and Emily Obama would just like or Michael Beirut would just like shout somewhere. Like it was very
Were they all working from
overstimulating.
the
These are
place?
yeah, the New York office now. Natasha
Jeez.
Jen, Paula Shea, Emily
What?
Oberman, Michael Beirut, Eddie Opara.
Oh
Who are
my
the other people I can
goodness.
remember? And all these people were in that office, and I would just
What?
be walking, and I'd be literally shaking
No no
because
no.
you could
Me,
turn,
I'll just
you could,
faint.
you could literally turn and see someone you've admired for like all your career, just
Jeez.
just eating like bread or something. Like it was so wild.
Oh my goodness.
And I
Damn.
remember the first day I went back to my hotel. I slept because my brain had seen so much. And then I eventually settled into it. They were very patient.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about process.
Damn.
They showed me a lot of works they were doing under
Hmm.
wraps, amazing work. And I learned so much about handling
Hmm.
clients. The team at Green Africa, the CEO, and there was a lot of rotation. Like it was a very deliberate process to craft the kind of team that would really make the most out of the work Pentagram was doing.
How do you think companies can start to realize the power or the significance of branding?
I think it's multidimensional,
Okay.
and it's not just in branding. I feel like design, there's very good design everywhere in Lagos, in Nigeria, in Africa, everywhere.
Hmm.
Historically, we've been very good designers.
Hmm.
It's just what people recognize as design.
Hmm.
When you walk, when you are in traffic and you see those guys that hawk Mentos and gum
Hmm.
on on
That
they
long
put
thing.
like carton.
Hmm.
Yeah, they put like carton and they put like
Rubber bands or something. Yeah.
foam on top of the carton, and they stick the things they're selling into the foam,
Yeah.
and they use tape to
That's
hold the
some
carton in a way
intricate
that they
design.
can. These people, someone designed that and did not go to formal school,
Hmm.
but yet that design solves so many problems. It solves
Rough.
the problem of weight.
Hmm.
It solves the problem of inventory.
Hmm.
That is, you can see how much you have and how much you don't.
Yeah.
It solves the problem of storage. You
Hmm.
can see how much you sold. You can see how much you can carry and how much you can't. And there are many, 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 many variations of great design all over, everywhere
Damn.
in Lagos.
Damn.
The problem is we don't recognize it as design. A lot of
God.
Nigerians don't see it as design.
Damn.
They just see it as artisan
When
work,
did you clock this?
or a long time ago,
Damn.
like maybe a couple of years ago. They don't. And Nifemi Marcus Bello is like someone that another person's work that really opened my eyes to it, because like like it's design. It's everywhere.
Okay.
Second point is which is why I made reference to New York. When commerce is aggressive
Yeah.
and mature, everyone is looking for an edge. And
Hmm.
design is an edge.
Hmm.
When there is no competition, you are comfortable. The reason why Robinhood, the stock investment application, will invest so much in what they've done is because there are apps that want to take their spot. They are trying to make the most out of every single experience you have.
Damn.
And the way to leverage that is they try to is design. Design is
You
a
know, I
competitive
secretly
edge.
believe that there's someone on their board that is a designer.
And see, this thing you are saying is actually not a joke. Oh.
Like they just
A lot
rebranded
of
again.
yes, a lot of the companies that take design seriously,
Yeah.
there is always someone in a very, very influential
It has to
leadership
be. Because
position
why would you be
that is
investing that much
stubborn.
in design
Yep.
almost every year?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They are always see call Stripe, you call Airbnb, you call
I see
Robinhood,
Airbnb.
name all these
Airbnb is a
all
design
these
agency. I don't even see them
yes now.
as a as, as a company,
You,
as a,
you,
hotel or
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like Apple, you look like Apple, you look at all these people.
yeah,
The Whenever you hear the leaders, the
yeah,
people who own these businesses, when you hear them talk about design, you start to understand why their brands
yeah,
and their products
yeah,
feel the way they do.
absolutely.
Right. So it's like and that thing is missing. Is missing here
It is.
because we don't even know what design is. We can't put our hands around it and grasp it. Talk less of it being like some kind of philosophical approach to the things we make. You understand? So
Yeah.
like if it's a different thing if someone like you enters like a government, like okay, let me give you a good example. The National Commission for Monuments for Museums and Monuments, NCMM, I forget what the two M's mean
Yeah.
exactly. They adopted tag and they started using tag on social media, and they've been using tag to like make assets and all of that. And it's very symbolic and it's very meaningful because of what tag represents. When first tag happened, they did a lot of exhibitions with sculpture,
Yeah.
with dancers. In fact, this is the reason why they called it Juju Festival, because we celebrated our own art and our own sculpture
Yeah.
in a way that was very, very loud and aggressive and unabashed. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say? And um, NCMM using it is very symbolic and very meaningful because they are also about museums and monuments,
Okay.
right? Now, NCMM, the leadership at NCMM changed, and that was what led to the use of tag.
Okay.
So it's important that
That we
the
start to
people
have
that have
people.
power, yeah, the people that have power, they are the ones who can really influence societal and cultural change. You need people that have power to be stubborn about the quality of experiences, to be
Absolutely.
stubborn about the quality of visuals,
Yeah.
to be stubborn about the quality of experiences.
Yeah.
If those people that have power are not, do you know how hard it is to pitch rebrands to a CEO that's just like not
See,
interested
bro,
or doesn't really understand?
I've
It's
been lucky
tough.
to be in the corporate space and in the, now not so. I mean, I'm still here. I'm still both sides. So I have a wide
Yeah.
perspective. I have two perspectives. I've been in a space where the CEO has zero interest in anything that would. So I can't talk about my, some of things, but I'm sure you like they don't want to invest because it comes with money. If it doesn't translate to revenue,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't find the majority, they don't attach value to it. Because when you think of a
Yeah.
typical business, you think of, okay, maybe they're in sales, maybe they're in retail, or maybe they're in product, right? They're selling a product, maybe a physical product or a digital product. If they're selling a physical product, it's a case of the more you produce, the more you earn. If you
Yeah.
increase your capacity to produce, so let's get more trucks, let's expand, get more more industries, more
Yes.
manufacturing,
Yeah. Yeah.
get more warehouses, get more delivery trucks, or what. Yeah, that translates to revenue because it's like the more you invest, they can even do projections. Oh, financial projections for the next 5 years. This is how much. But of design, like how will this design interpret or translate to money? If and design is intangible. So if you are not able to, how can a designer tell you that okay? when you change this typography, you start to earn $1 million from earning $10,000.
It's possible.
Wow. I want to
It's
hear.
possible.
I
It's
I need
possible.
it.
It's possible. And a good case study is product design.
Hmm.
Product designers have found ways, which is why they are some of the highest paid designers in the world
Hmm.
right now. They found ways to, and it's not just them. Of course, it's in combination with engineering and product engineering and like back. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just the visual;
Hmm.
it's also in collaboration with like data and experienced scientists or whatever.
Yeah.
And they found ways to actually track the effect of their work, and they found ways. They designed products iteratively.
Hmm.
There's something called A/B testing in
Yeah.
products. We designed one billboard for Paystack one time about security, and one was going to be in Ikeja, and I think the other was in somewhere on the island. And Emmanuel said, let's put two different URLs on both billboards so we can use that to measure interaction and see how many people are interacting with
The euros.
the billboards
Okay.
depending on per location.
Yeah.
You understand? And they've just, that thing I just described is something they figured out how to speak about design in a way that is super analytical and in a way that presents its value very
That's
clearly.
actually great.
For brand now, but it depends. It depends because with products, it's very experiential. It's tactile. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can click on a button, it will take you to a place. There will be motion between two pages. You can judge if that motion is distracting or whether it's effective. But there are certain
You can even do
elements in
eye
brand
tracking.
design, like font. Yeah, fonts can, you can explain. So if you design a book and you use a font that is a little bit condensed, you can save money on pages. If you use a font that is regular width and a book is 100 pages, if you use the condensed version of that font, the book could reduce by 10 pages. You've saved money on 10 pages. So it's really about
Understanding the
understanding
value
the
of,
value,
yeah.
and that's where the gap is. A lot
There
of
you go.
designers miss, because of the work that they do and because of how much they put into the work, they think the value is in the visuals. That's not where the value is. The value is in what that experience, what that visual translates to. Figure out what it is that the business owners value and speak in that language, right? If the publisher values um printing costs or values cheap publishing costs, tell the printer that we have come to Penguin Books and we realize that your font, the default font you use to print most of your books, Penguin Sans, it only comes in regular and expanded. We are proposing that we can design something that's a little bit condensed. It will still be as legible as the ones you have, but it will save you per every 100 pages, 5 pages. They will pay you your money because they want to save money on costs of print. They want
That is
to.
actually profound.
They will pay your money. So it's just understanding
Understanding the
what the
value,
value
what you're
is,
offering.
understanding what that value is,
Wow.
understanding what that offering is.
Wow.
And that's something I also realized much later in
Much
my
later.
career
Wow.
because I used to put a lot of the value too in visuals.
Or in the process, or in the work, or in the hours
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
take to do the work, rather than the
No, it's not.
actual end product. Or
It's not art
it's
now.
not
It's not
art.
art.
It's not art.
Artists can sell process. They
Yeah.
can say, "Oh, I painted this thing when I was in France and I had not eaten for 10 days. So I painted this with I was very hungry and that's why
Swear.
the strokes look the way they look." If you tell, do you know what I mean? Like if you tell someone that and you now say, "Oh, this piece is 10,000 pounds because of that," they can buy it
Yep.
because they're like,
Yep.
when they are telling people about the piece of art, they
That's
say, "Do you
what they
know
would
the
tell.
artist had starved for
Yeah.
10 days
Yeah.
before painting this?"
They even
But
write it at
with
the back
design,
or somewhere
you
there.
know, exactly. But with design,
Design.
it has to be practical. You need to say, we change this color from this red to this red because it's saved, because we change this color from a 4 color um, process color of CMYK, which will require that printers combine 4 inks to make the color, to a spot Pantone color, because we could buy buckets of one color of Pantone. So instead of spending money for 4 buckets, we buy one bucket from Pantone and That's why the red, and we are saying you should reduce the vibrance of the red a little bit
Jeez.
because it's a sport
Gee,
color.
that
You
that's
know what I
that's actually
mean?
crazy, you.
You,
That's
you,
actually
do you know what I
crazy.
mean?
That's actually you. No, it's obvious that you've done your study on this. For the average person, they have not done this much research into understanding. Even me, I'm still on the journey of understanding because I also pitch clients because of course, we have to get more clients. I pitch clients, and when I want to make the presentation, when I'm doing the document, I mean the process like documentation and all, I'll be like starting to like do projections. Okay, so this is potential impact of this. I'm like, but you just talking about
Yeah,
color, like how color can actually impact directly on the bottom line. How
yes,
changing the font from a normal regular to a condensed can save pages.
yeah,
It comes
yeah,
from studying and understanding the impact of design.
yeah,
How did you
yeah.
even get to this point of understanding the design, the impact of design?
It's just experience, man. It's
Mm,
experience. It's many years of
mm,
failing. It's many years of mistakes. It's some successes. It's some failures. You really just you can't. Just doing beautiful work is not enough.
mm.
Because you do beautiful work, and it will pass. Like trends come
Like
and
Rama Bam.
go. Yeah, like nice. Like like trends come and
Yeah.
go. The look will come and go. You need to anchor your work on something that is the lifeblood of the brand and the business.
So let's just speak about community again. Um,
Yeah,
because you've made references to people you've spoken with. You mentioned speaking with someone at Cowrywise. I can't remember the name.
yeah,
But yeah, in terms of learning and also growing, evolving as a creative, what would you say like the impact of community and people, and not just your colleagues, but people like in different spaces or circles uh are what would you categorize the impact as to you?
yeah. I mean, like it's important to speak to touch grass, like they popularly say. Like you, if you're around, and I think Nee mentioned something like this as
You
well.
did.
Go watch Nee's episode. If you're watching, if you're constantly surrounded by like-minded people, it affects your perspective. It affects the
Absolutely.
quality of work. It affects the conversations. It affects the topics that you're going to like. When I'm around designers, I am talking about printing problems. I'm talking about people not following brand guidelines. I'm talking about poor pay.
Yeah.
These are, they are
Yeah, the
but you
usual
can't have those
suspects.
conversations. Yeah, you can't have those conversations if you are in a space with business people,
Mm.
because those ones care very little about how much you are paid
Yep.
and are trying to understand why they should even be talking to you. So
Yeah.
you need to now
The conversation is
start to talk
different.
with yeah, it's different. So like just like surround yourself with different people. Yesterday I was at guest artist space. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think so. Or day before yesterday, I was at guest artist space, which is like a like an incubator space in quotes established by Yinka Shonibaro, who is like a world renowned like
Mm.
artist. And I met Demasunwoko's grandson,
What?
Rufus Nwoko. I held Demasunwoko's paintings from like the 1950s.
Jeez.
I held, I read the script for a play he did at Vestac. I met the granddaughter of the person who was in charge of branding and communications for Festac 77, who was the person who made all the lamppost banners, all the billboards, all the
What?
newspaper ads. I met his granddaughter. And what did I go there to do? I went there to talk about tech.
Hmm.
But then I'm meeting like art curators.
Damn.
I'm meeting artists. I'm meeting the person who organized it is a curator. One of the persons that organized it is Naima Hassan, who has curated work at the Tate. Like you're not going to meet
Hmm.
people like this by just staying by yourself or by just visiting designer hangouts.
Mm.
It's just an echo. You're just in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Like You need to go to spaces, go watch films, go to see a film with people who make films, go and discuss with sculptors, go to Art X, talk to a painter, go to business conventions, go to startup conferences. Like you need to, as a designer, your value is in everywhere else, the people, the places, the everywhere else in the world that needs design. So you need to be comfortable in those
Yeah.
spaces. And then I think another thing, if you can afford it, is to travel. Just travel so it opens your mind to what is possible, right? What is possible in terms of like execution, but also opens your mind to like different cultures, right? Like Dami and I, one was it last year or last 2 years, we went to Switzerland and we were in Lauterbrunnen, which is like this place that looks like it's like a storybook. Like it's like
So
a valley.
picturesque.
It's like a small village. It's a village in between like mountains. So it's like inside a valley.
Yeah.
And this place is probably the most beautiful place I've ever been to in my life. And we met like people from all walks of life. Like we were in a bar at like 1 a.m. with they had this picture of Queen Elizabeth that was very awkwardly in the center of the bar with like, and they had like taxidermy with like roosters and like weird beds that had been filled with like cotton or whatever, but were dead. Like you, what I'm trying to, I'm not trying to make sense of the experience. I'm just trying to let you know that there's so much that
To explore
is
that to out there.
incomprehensible to you that you can't just make sense of until you actually experience it. And you don't even need to travel to Switzerland. Like, just go to Benin, travel to Kano if you can. Like, go to Kaduna, like, visit like museums, like, talk to people. Because these things will make your life richer and in turn make your design work
Make
richer.
your life rich. If you were to start again, if you were to start designing again
Hmm.
from scratch, what would you do differently?
That's such a good question, man. If I were to start again, I would. I absolutely treasure my knowledge in design is not conventional. A lot of the things I learned from architecture apply, and that's why I'm able to think about graphic design and branding the way I do. And I'm very grateful for that. So I wanted to say that I'll go to graphic design school, but I don't think that's important or as important. I think if I'm going to start again, I think I would work a lot more in the open. I think I would invest in the process and showing and getting as much feedback during the process versus the final results. I think I would invest a lot in iteration. A lot of graphic designers and brand designers underestimate the power of iteration. And that's something product designers have on lock. When they design something, they test.
Yeah.
And if it fails, they make adjustments. It would be really, really cool if brand design is given that kind of like approach where
You don't have to show
some things are
final.
sacred, yeah, some things are sacred, but it doesn't, you don't want it to be final. Like you should be rebranding is essentially iteration. Robin Hood branded with Collins maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and now they've done it
Yeah.
again with Porto Rocha,
Rocha,
and
yeah.
that's because there are new findings. They realize that there's more, or there are new things that they need to adapt to. So yeah, if I were to do this again, I would work more in the open. I would get as much feedback as I can. I would live a richer life, so I'm not. It sounds ironical, but so I'm not as consumed as I am with design, because I find that I'm a better designer when I'm less invested. Yeah, like you can't make it everything you do. Like it has to be the manifestation of your life or your experiences. So if you're going to be a designer, don't just do design 24 hours. Like you can do it for like half the time, but half the time, like live your life. Like if like you need to inform your skills with experiences. You need to travel, you need to talk to people, you need to fail, You need to make mistakes. Also, please don't be super obsessed with timelines. I know, like, that's what it's capitalist as hell. Everybody wants you to meet a deadline because, like, but like, I don't know whether this is even good or bad advice. But like, do whatever it is that you need to do to ensure you are doing the best work that you can. And if you can do that within a timeline, well done. You're among the few special ones in the world. But if you can't, figure out your communications, know how to communicate
Communicate.
that you're going to go over time,
Yeah.
and over communicate, even like bother your clients, like tell them that it's going to take today, this is what I did, this week this is what we did,
Yeah.
we are on time. Next week, and the I know we promised last week, but on Monday this is what we did, Tuesday this is what we did, Wednesday this is what we did, and that's why on Thursday I'm telling you that we are going to need time, more time, like 5 more days or something,
That way
right?
they
So
can
like,
appreciate when
yeah,
you.
that way they can appreciate, share, and also share as much as you can. There's a temptation to show your clients, well, it's very dependent on the type of client, to be honest. But the best clients are the clients that understand that design is iterative.
Mm,
They are not expecting to see magic.
mm,
They understand that the process is rubbish, 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 okay, not so rubbish, okay, okay, a little good, good, excellent, flabbergastingly mind blowing. That's the process.
wow.
Nobody in the world creates flabbergastingly mind blowing in the first two, three steps.
Mm,
Nobody, even the best designers, So work with people that understand that process and are open to engaging with you as you do that. What else? And then marry someone that is dope.
hey, show off. Show off. Hey, for the singles listening to this, man. Yeah, no pressure, but pressure. That's what I have to say. There is pressure, but there's no pressure. Oh yeah, that's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think our viewers and our listeners will have taken so much from this particular episode and session with you. Like I said, appreciate you coming on. Thanks for sharing. One last question
Awesome.
that we ask everyone here who comes on the podcast is, what are you currently doing to become a better version of yourself?
Um, I am working out a lot
Mm,
because it helps me with discipline,
yeah.
routine, discipline. Just there's something very beautiful about going to the gym, lifting 80 kilograms for your chest press, and then doing that for like 2 weeks,
Wow.
and then in a week you are able to lift 82
Mm,
or 83.
mm-hmm,
There's nothing more telling and nothing more, encouraging
mm,
than you seeing your abilities improve
mm,
in real time
mm,
just because you're consistent
yeah.
and you're committed.
Yeah.
So I really love that about the gym. So that's something I'm doing. I take my fitness very seriously, and it has a ripple effect on my mental and physical like well-being. So yeah, I don't know what it is for you, but I feel like for anyone that's listening, figure out the thing that keeps you disciplined and keeps you in a routine, and it would affect everything else.